Hey, Wargamers, welcome back. Purple Druid presents Wargame Culture, and today we have a battle that we are going to fight between the red and the blue. And we're going to be using 1 Hour Wargames rules and a scenario from this book. And what the plan is to demonstrate how you can use miniatures or substitute those miniatures for blocks in the Kriegsspiel style. And in a previous video, which I'll link down below, I talked about how you can use different items, blocks, chits, wood chips, miniatures, what have you. All sorts of things can be used to play war games and have a lot of fun playing these games, especially if you don't have the time or the inclination to paint a bajillion miniatures. Now, that being said, the miniatures part of the hobby is one of my favorite parts of it. And so, personally, I enjoy doing the painting. Now, that being said, these Civil War, these are from Warlord. These Civil War troops, 15 millimeter, epic style, they come all together in a strip. And they're a lot of fun to paint, but I do have over 2,000 of them that need to get done. I've got a little more than 1,000 done, about 1,200, I think. And while it's fun, it's very time consuming, and it's been putting back the Imaginations campaign that I want to run. So in order to bypass that, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate today how to play an adventure with miniatures and or wooden blocks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce the scenario. So this is scenario 25 in the 1 Hour Wargames book. A small blue force has penetrated the red lines. It aims to plunder the Red Army's supply network before the Reds can respond. So the Red Army will get 6 units, which you can see on the board here. And I rolled for those on the chart that's in the book. So we have 3 units of infantry, 1 unit of artillery, and then we have another unit of infantry and a unit of cavalry. The blue side, I rolled for 3 units of infantry and 1 unit of skirmishers. And so those are there. And I think you can see the designs, the Kriegsspiel designs on the blocks. So they should be fairly distinctive and distinctive enough that you can tell them apart. Now, when the game begins, red has 1 unit on the hill. I went ahead and chose the artillery unit. That seemed like the smartest thing to do. The artillery unit is guarding the road. They have a great vantage point. The artillery has a 45-degree field of fire to each side. So what we'll do is we'll be using this to determine who can be shot and when and where. The objective of the game is for the blue forces to exit the table on the north side. The red objective, obviously, is to prevent that. If even 2 units can get through, that will be a success, a win for the blue team. Now, when the game begins, only this artillery unit will be on the board, and then blue will move on to the table. Blue will take each turn. They'll begin each turn, and we won't be rolling for initiative according to the rules of the scenario. On turn 3, the Red Army will gain 2 units from the north edge. So these 2 units here will approach from the north at the beginning of turn 3. And then on turn 6, we'll get these 3 units here. We'll come onto the south edge via the road as reinforcements. Now, Neil Thomas, the author of 1 Hour Wargames, says that this scenario is inspired by the Battle of Kernstown in 1862. And I read a little bit about that, and I posted some on the blog. And frankly, that's a really interesting battle, and it probably would be very interesting to play the whole thing out as a little mini campaign. But what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and get started with the miniatures. And the scenario says that the game should take 15 turns, or that's how many turns it should run before you declare a victor or not. And I don't know that we'll really have time for that, or that we'll want to watch all that. And maybe I'll just break this up into 5-turn segments so that you don't have to watch all of it if you don't want to. But I think this will be an interesting thought experiment and proof of concept. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to your comments and discussion in the area below or over at the Wargame Culture Substack. So I'm going to pause for just a second while I get out the dice and everything, and we'll get this started. All right, so at the beginning of turn 1, we have the red artillery on the board, and they are guarding the road. And on turn 1, blue will move on to the board. And since we're using 15 millimeter or small scale, we're going to go ahead and use centimeters rather than inches to kind of keep things more to the scale of what we're looking for here. So also, otherwise, we can move all the way across the board in 6 moves, and that won't be very fun at all, will it? So the skirmishers move at 9 inches. So we're going to make that 9 centimeters. So we'll put the skirmishers right here. And then the infantry can move 6. So they can come on here. Doing this wrong. So the infantry have moved onto the table, and as units can move or shoot, that is going to be the end of their move. And then I'm going to place these. I made these little cards for hits. Each unit can take 15 hits, so we're going to use these little cards to track the damage. And for the red, they can go ahead and fire their cannon, and that is going to give them 2 of these units will be in their range of fire, so they're going to go ahead and shoot at this unit of infantry. All right, so in the 1 Hour Wargame rules, artillery and skirmishers roll a d6 to inflict damage. There are no saves or anything like that. Infantry rolls a d6 and adds 2 to the score. And so every time you shoot, you just cause casualties, and that's how that works. So for the artillery to fire on these infantry, they only get 1. So we'll put a mark on there, and that will take us to turn number 2. Now for the blue side, they can move or shoot. And even though this unit has taken fire from the cannon and they can theoretically shoot back, the range is only 12 centimeters. And so 12 centimeters is only that far. So they will not be able to fire back upon the artillery. So we're going to go ahead and move. The skirmishers, once again, they'll move their full 9. The infantry will move 6. And these infantry, they only took 1 from the cannon, so they're going to assault that hill, I think, because they get to roll d6 plus 2 when they do finally get in range. So they're going to move, they can turn and move 6. So they'll move here. All right, so that's the end of blue's turn. And now red, the artillery, they can fire again. They're going to go ahead and shoot at the infantry once more. And this time they get 4. cross those out. And now we'll move to turn number 3. So for turn 3, all units will continue moving to work on their raid. And for the red side, remember that on turn 3, they get their first batch of reinforcements. So for turn 3, we have the cavalry, which can move 12. And we have infantry, which can move 6. Normally, I would have taped these little wound trackers to the bottom of these bases, but we're going to switch over to the blocks in just a little bit. So that's why we didn't do that. And now on turn 3, once again, the artillery can fire as the infantry marches into the teeth. And that's 5. Well, I'm starting to doubt the wisdom of that plan now. All right, so that is turn 3, and now we'll move to turn 4. I will say this is going a little bit faster than I thought it would. So, 9. For those of you who've done the math, the board is exactly 3 feet across. Well, we're going to call it 90 centimeters. And that will take exactly 15 turns for these minis to get across. So if they don't run into any resistance, we'll see what happens. And one more move here. I'm not going to check the range. I know it's more than 12. Yeah. So, but I think one more turn. If they can survive the shooting this turn, they'll be able to inflict some casualties on the artillery. And then for the red side, cavalry can move 12. Infantry can move 6. And that is turn 4. All right, turn 5, blue. Once more, the skirmishers racing for the woods, trying to get in that cover. Infantry can only move 6. And then one more move for these folks, and I think that will put them in range. Not quite. Not quite. They're going to need one. They need to survive one more round of shooting. I really need to get a ceiling mount for this camera. All right, so our cavalry will move 12 inches or centimeters, and 6 for the infantry. And then we'll take one more shot with the artillery, and they get 1. Well, it looks like the infantry might get to attack. All right, here we are at turn 6. We've switched over to the blocks. So our skirmishers will once again move 9. And these infantry will move 6. Now, these infantry are still out of range, So they're going to move 6. And then next turn, they'll be in position to fire, and they'll be able to get d6 plus 2 wounds inflicted on the artillery. On the red phase, we bring in the red reinforcements here on the road. So they get to move 6. So we'll put all 3 of these here, like so. And then the artillery will take their shot, and they get 5, and that's going to be the end of this unit. They only had 4 left. Very interesting. All right, so that's the end of turn 6. So, turn 7, our skirmishers will move 9. That will bring them just into the edge of the woods here. And 6 for the infantry. The artillery now no longer has a target, so they're going to go ahead and move. They know these units are over here, so they're going to rotate, and they can move up to 6 centimeters. These folks here are not going to be able to play any real part in this battle. And then for the cavalry and the infantry on the red side over here, this is going to be interesting. So the cavalry can assault and melee the infantry, and the infantry don't get to fight back. The infantry, for their part, can assault or can fire upon the cavalry. So let's see what happens. These can move 12. And these are going to turn. I'll move 6. Now, infantry also cannot go into the woods. So we have an interesting situation where I believe that blue is going to win simply by running around the edge of the woods. So for turn 8, blue will go first, and our skirmishers get to move 9. And the infantry here, they're going to rotate a smidge, and they'll move 6. And they are not in range. However, they are going to turn and prepare to be attacked. For the Reds' side, they'll move 3. The cavalry will rotate a bit, and they can move 12, which will put them right there. They're going to go ahead and try to assault them. And then we'll have these folks move up here. They're going to have to go around the woods there. And then the artillery will take a shot on those infantry there. And they get 4. And that is the end of turn 8. Turn 9 for the blue. We're going to move our skirmishers. Go 9. I'll move 6. And now the blue infantry will fire on the red cavalry. D6 plus 2. And that'll be 8. Wow. That is a strike. Now for the red phase, I moved these guys here up 6 centimeters because I spaced on the concept that they move an extra 3 units per turn when they're on the road. So I apologize for that. So now these units will move 9. And I'm kind of just moving those. It's academic, really, because they can't do anything. And now the cavalry will assault and melee the infantry here. And then our infantry here will rotate, and they can move 6. Now, the artillery does not have a target, so that will be the end of turn 9. Oops, sorry, the cavalry gets to roll their die. Forgot to do that. And they get a 3, so they're going to do 3 damage to this infantry stand. They failed to destroy them, so they will fall back 6 inches. 6 centimeters, I apologize. Inches, centimeters, it doesn't really matter. 6 units. We've got to get used to just saying units. That's the end of turn 9. Now it's turn 10. We'll just continue to march these dudes up the road. Because, you know, whatever, right? And, no, not yet. Well, I'll move them later. Blue goes first. Goodness gracious. So the skirmishers will actually make it to the end of the board. So that's the end for them. So that's half of the victory conditions have been met. We'll move these infantry here. And these infantry will fire on the cavalry once again. And that is a 7, and that will actually demolish this. They have 15 hits. They've already taken 8. So that's all they have left. So this cavalry unit is eliminated. And that is going to basically set up the game for blue, because now no one can catch this unit. So outstanding. Let's go ahead and take a shot for the red and see if the artillery what happens to these poor infantrymen. They're going to take 3 more. So they're down to 10, or they've taken 10. So they're down to 5. So they can only take 1 or 2 more shots from the artillery. And due to their facing and what have you, they will stay within 48 centimeters. So they're likely to be decimated. However, this unit here is not going to be able to be stopped, and they will get off the table. So blue will win this scenario. So that went faster than I expected, so that's cool. We got 10 turns in, and I think it's interesting how these folks here played really no role in the battle because they entered on the road. And I'm wondering if there may be some sort of scaling issue by using centimeters, considering I was using the 15 millimeter figures, that perhaps because it was still a 3-foot board, that maybe I should have shrunk it down. So I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to play this scenario again. Definitely going to play this scenario again. This time we will use the risk pieces, and each unit will look like this. We'll use 3 of the 1 inch by 1 inch squares with the risk pieces to represent each unit. And we'll also go ahead and use the inches for the ground scale and see what happens. So we're just about 25 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. We'll do the other video later on. And I look forward to any comments or criticism or suggestions you have. Please, say something down below. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you watching the video. And if you stayed around this long, please consider popping over to wargameculture.substack.com and get ready to take part in this year's campaign carnival. Thanks again, and keep on gaming.